Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for this opportunity, Luke. And I'm excited to be with you all today. I have one question as we begin to open up. Have any of you ever left a stage or an investor meeting and you felt in your gut that what you just did didn't land the way you thought it would? If that's you, I have two. And I want to tell you a quick story and the way I learned a lesson from that. I met my husband in the Navy, and we got married while we were in the Navy. Two sailors, same uniform, two different chains of commands, two totally different lives. Um, and it taught me something that I now realize most founders have the same experience. We were never really trained how to communicate very well under pressure when over explaining can cost you. You don't get a long runway in the Navy, you don't get to overperform, and you always don't get context. My husband and I built a marriage that, by the way, just hit 25 years. And in a world where that doesn't last, um, make it that far. Many marriages don't make it that far. For a long time, I thought our story was just our story, something private, something we figured out at the kitchen table. And I learned that there was a lesson that needed to be shared from that. Can you hit the next slide, please? So I sat down with what I lived, and I went back through it, and I pulled out lessons, and I wrote a book called Together in the Trenches, a devotional for families navigating PTSD. And that's why I'm here to tell this story to each of you. Can you hit the next slide? Thank you. The skill I used to write the book is the same skill I learned in the Navy. And that skill is missing from most founders' communications today. We are over explaining or undersharing or hiding our communications. And when we want to take time to talk about it, the boardroom, your buyer, to a recruit, to a potential room of customers, or your team in a moment that matters, the words that you use may not carry the weight of what you actually lived. Or you sidestep your story altogether because it feels too personal or too raw or too off strategy. And there's a cost to that. In our world, that is it has a real number on it. Deals that should close, talent you want to recruit, boards lose conviction, customers who don't stay. That isn't a soft skills problem. That's a revenue problem dressed up as a communication problem. So for the next few minutes, I want to give us a framework to use, one that I built from 25 years of stewarding one story, sharpened by the Navy, taught to me under pressure. And I called this ESP, extract, shape, and protect. All right, next slide, please. So extract. You want to pull the story from the moment. And so using my book Together in the Trenches, this devotional that I wrote, what I did was take moments from our daily lives that we use. And Aaron, I thank you for talking about how you use the Bible. The Bible is really important in my family. We use scripture as a tool for us every day to walk through our daily life. And that's what I used as a tool to write down struggles that we were having, something I could stand on. And then I would, from each one of those scriptures, take a lesson. What was I learning from that? What can I share with someone else? Maybe not the whole story, but something that helped another coworker, maybe an employee, maybe a boss even, shape the way that they were looking at something. And then what needed to stay private? What could not be shared out loud? if it wasn't a lesson, if I hadn't had the opportunity to shape it yet, it could not be shared. It was important that if I hadn't found why and who it could serve, it wasn't ready to be shared. This is where your authority really, really shows up. I'm sorry, I'm getting a call. I'll call him right back. That's my brother. um, so your investor doesn't always want more data. They want you to decide in advance. They need to understand what stays inside your company on your earnings calls, what needs to stay public. Apologize. What needs to stay inside your company on your earnings calls, what's shared publicly, what the board hears in private. You already know what to do, and you have a name for this. On the next slide, please. Can you go to the next slide, please? You have 4 rooms that you're going to be in: your boardroom, your investor room, your recruiting room, your all hands moments. You're going to use these as same thing as you would do a podcast, right? You're going to podcast, you're going to speak, you're going to network, you're going to create content. And it's the same thing for a CEO. The CEO is going to go to private meetings. They may not call them podcasts, but they have moments where they're recording things together and having conversations together. You're going to use those moments and extract moments that introduce your book, your resume, and then shape a lesson and take it and make it something beautiful. So it could be a reel, it could be a book, it could be a LinkedIn post, it can be something that continue to tell your story. And the next slide. I think I said that one already. You can skip that one. Go to the next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Here's what I want to leave you with. For the next 6 weeks, and I'm picking 6 weeks deliberately because most of you run on quarterly cycles. It gives you raw data before your next big thing. So pick one story a week and run ESP. Pick a moment and a real moment. Extract something that doesn't feel off brand and share about it. Shape it, decide the outcome before you tell the story. What do you want the listener or the reader to do with it? Not just understand, but what do you want them to do with it? And then protect it. Name what stays yours. What boundaries do you want to stay around it? This is where you build your scale. And over these 6 weeks, I want you to share 6 stories and then measure what's changed. Look at what comes inbound. Look at what meetings get easier to book. Look at what candidates say yes to you. Look at what customers are willing to buy from you. And then once you have that data to make a good decision, then I want you to reach out to me and tell me what your outcome was, because I am more sure that you will have a good framework by which you have built. And I just want to thank you, Luke, for the opportunity to be with you guys today. I apologize.